Broseph, I take a meeting every single week to the Montgomery County Jail, the Veterans Pod. Now, you think it's hard to get a bunch of warriors that are freely attending to share. Go to jail where those men, they're trying to be closed up for a reason. They're afraid if they let any of their emotions out that it's gonna be capitalized on by somebody else.
Right.
I've been going to this meeting in jail for 3 years, and it took a good year before these men started to open up and stuff. But now they open up, and it is like it's like gold just coming at you, because they're literally addressing the issues that are in their head and that they're going through, and they're getting answers from other people in the room who are sitting there, doing their time also. And every week, every Wednesday morning, we go to the prison up at the Walls unit in Huntsville, and it's the same thing. It's when we go in there, you can tell these men are trying to protect themselves. They're trying to protect their feelings and all that stuff. But all of a sudden, it just takes just one. Push the button on one and have them open up and share. And then all of a sudden, this honesty comes out about feelings and everything else. And there's power in it, Bear. There's a lot of power in it. Like you said, man, just identifying and speaking it takes away the venom. It takes away the power.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting here because we want those men and women out there who I hope will see this and hear this and understand they're not by themselves. And if they're in their darkest moment, there are people like us, wherever they are even, reach out and find some help. Life is not over. And this topic is becoming a bigger topic in our society right now because of so many opportunities to communicate now. But you're right, Barrett. Men want to be men. Warriors want to maintain that warrior mentality, which is, I can take on anything. I am superhero. You are. You look like one. I'll call you Shazam Man.
Can we do better?
Shazam Man?
I feel like you could have done better.
I could have better?
Yeah. We'll talk about it later.
Okay, fine. I'll come up with something.
I thought it was good.
I thought it was good. Yeah.
I mean, he's anyway.
I've been a pastor for 30 years, and I have such a heart and a concern for men who are out there scared to be men, while at the same time scared to be vulnerable. This goes beyond just selfness. I mean, it breaks into the relationships. It breaks into everything. When you're so scared to let go and be you, I think we find so much conflict in that because we put up this barrier. I call it the facade of who we want everybody to see. Where inside, like you were saying, you were dying, you were broken, you were hurting, and then you found power. Your manhood, your warriorism came back up for a moment, at a split 1 second moment. And you said, I'm done. I'm ready. Anyone that hears what we're talking about, I want them to know this is not a joke. This is real. And America needs to understand that men need help. Women need help. I don't want anybody to be scared or embarrassed about reaching out and asking for help.
Yeah, and chaps, you brought up, when you were speaking, all I kept thinking about was my Vietnam veterans that are at Fob Razor.
Yeah.
These are men that, they didn't, there was no way on green earth that they were going to share about the atrocities that they'd seen both on the battlefield and even coming home. And these men that are at Fob Razor right now, these Vietnam veterans, they are there and they get the opportunity today to let those demons out from way back then. Yeah. And it's an amazing opportunity for both them as the individual that's dealing with the trauma and the related addictions and everything else. But to hear them open up and share, and then say to the other men and women of Fob Razor who are from our era, and say, hey, we didn't have any of this stuff when I was getting out, or when I first got out of the military. But my gosh, if we did, there'd be a lot more of us here today. And that is an amazing, amazing testament to these warriors who dealt with this stuff so long ago, and they've sat there and they just kept pushing it further down in their sea bag, pushing it further down. And now a half a century later, and they're opening it up and they're letting it out, and they're saying, man, this feels so good. Well, I wish we would have done this before. And so, the thing is, it doesn't matter what your trauma is. Trauma is trauma. And it's never too late to get help for it. It really is. It's not something, I've been dealing with it for 50 years. So open up the sea bag. Open up the sea bag and see how good it feels to let some of that stuff out, man. It really is an amazing thought process.
I've always had this philosophy. It's never too late to get some help.
That's right.
I'm in the business. That's my business. I do it every day. It's never too late to get help. You just have to take that first step and recognize, like you said, you have to get to that point where you need something, you just don't know what it is.
There's two things that came to mind, gentlemen. One, when we're talking about this epidemic, people are afraid to be authentic, right? And I don't give a shit what you think about me, right? Maybe a little bit, but does it really matter, right? It doesn't, right? It really doesn't matter what I think about you. Not everybody deserves an opinion. Not everything deserves an opinion, but you should still be authentic. You shouldn't be afraid to be yourself. I didn't like the fact that I was losing my damn hair, but my salute, my forehead turned into a 5 head, I kept pushing back, and, you just kind of have to embrace it, man. You go through changes, life changes, times change, but don't be afraid to be authentic. And then two, when we're talking about trauma, a lot of people are like, man, maybe my story's worse. Maybe my story's not as bad, but I don't have it as bad as Jeff, or I don't have it as bad as Bear, so I'm just going to shut up and sit here quietly and listen. Everything is relative. And I was listening to some other guys talk, and I realized that, a bad day for my kids could be a breakup. Or, my daughter's going through nursing school right now. She fails a test, or she gets into a fight with her boyfriend or one of her friends, or whatever the case may be. It's relative, right? And then you're talking about, well, that's nothing. A bad day is getting shot at or blown up, or bro, that's still a fucking bad day.
Yep, it still sucks.
It sucks,
right? Absolutely.
Right? And you have to be able to recognize that and treat that as such. It's not a competition. Sometimes life just sucks. And I've told my daughter now, I've told my kids now, you want me to listen? You just, look, big ears. You just want me to provide support? Cool. I'll sit here and listen. Do you want me to give you advice? Do you want me to, how do you want support? Right? Because not everybody needs to hear feedback. It's nice to get positive affirmations. It's nice to get that feedback sometimes, but when it's not solicited, it's you just have to let people experience their bad times without it being a pissing contest. And a lot of times it turns into that. There's this lived experience fallacy. Well, I've been through this, so I know what I'm talking about. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I just wanted to bring that up, man. A lot of guys don't share because I hear it all the time. Well, I don't think I deserve benefits from the VA. I never wanted to file disability. Bro, you're still less than the 1%, right? 330 million people in this country, and you're still less than the 1%. You deserve it.
That's right.
You deserve it.
And, we say it at Fob Razor's preamble that I read before every meeting. We're not comparing, we're sharing. There's no comparing. Trauma is trauma. I mean, God forbid, my traumas, I honestly believe that a lot of my trauma is from, or as much, from knocking on doors and telling mom or dad or wife that Johnny's not coming home as anything I've ever seen anywhere else in the world.
Right.
And that's traumatic for me. That is not trauma is trauma.
Right.
Now, if you go ahead and chalk that up to what a female has seen friggin', with MST or anything else, that's trauma. I will never for 1 second be able to understand what that man or woman went through in that particular case.
Right.
And there's no way.
Right.
I mean, that's just, but you know what? We're not comparing it. We're sharing it. By sharing it, we're getting it out and we're taking away the poison. And that's what it's all about.
Hurt is hurt.
That's right.
And
pain sucks.
And everyone responds differently to hurt. What you may be able to handle emotionally may be different than what I can handle emotionally. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you've experienced a trauma and it has affected you in a negative way, and it is causing you to have negative thoughts, thoughts of hurting yourself, thoughts of hurting other people, then by goodness, please ask for help. There are people out there that want to help you, because there's a lot of us out there, retired military guys, ex-military guys, that we've been able to crawl through the mire and get to the other side. Well, we want to see how many we can grab a hold of on the other side and bring them out. And we're there for you. We're there with you and for you. And you're not an embarrassment to me. I'm going to tell you what. You are not an embarrassment to me. You might make yourself embarrassed if you're too scared to ask for help, because then you're going to lose.
Absolutely.
So that's why we talk about this stuff. It's always been talked about. Of course, I got out in the 80s. I got in and out right on the tails of the Vietnam War. And it definitely was a different life and experience back then. We didn't have all these wonderful opportunities of love, and people could care less about who we were.
Doesn't change that much.
No, not really. The opportunities to get help have changed greatly.
Absolutely.
There really was no such thing as share your heart and share your feelings when I got out. It's suck it up, get over it, be a man. That was my counseling. That's the counseling I received when I got out of the Marine Corps. And today, we recognize that people are people.
Not all change is bad, chaps. There's
That's
a
right.
lot of things that, we sit back and be like, man, the way this is done nowadays ain't the way. Not everything that changes is bad.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I'm grateful that we have ways to help people now.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been nice to have had that back in the 80s.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that did not benefit from the grace and the love and the second chance opportunities that we're giving today, because now we're willing to accept it's real, we identify it, and we provide a way out for those who want a way out. We're there.
I used to think depression was bullshit. Honestly. Mm-hmm. Barry, this is in your own head, and arguably it is. But man, having a bad day, just pull yourself out of it. Pull yourself out of it. Man, and then life has a way of proving you wrong when you think you've got it all figured out. It'll give you a phone call. It'll give you a wake-up call. It'll send you an email. Something will happen, right, to turn things upside down in your life. You're like, man, everything that I knew, everything that I thought, I was wrong. It causes you to re-examine where you're at, maybe your purpose. Man, but I've totally changed my outlook on that. You know, I mean, Bible says Jesus wept. You know, I taught my kids it was okay to cry. As a kid, I was always been ashamed of it, you know, to shed a tear. It's okay to be human. Be a human being and not a human doing. I mean, there's times for it. I mean, there's times, arguably, to show your emotion, to let yourself feel, and then there's times, arguably, not to. There's a season for everything.
Right.
Time to kill and a time to heal.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're on a roll, baby. Don't
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's okay to feel. And, I mean, maybe back in the day, my father was no different. And this is one thing I've never really shared on this. You know, I mean, the experience that crushed me was my dad committing suicide. That was horrible. That turned my entire life and my entire family upside down. And my trajectory in life. Is this the path? Is this your destiny, Bear? Do you follow in your father's footsteps? Like so many young children want to. They want to follow in their father's footsteps. They want to follow in their parents' footsteps. Was that the end goal? Was that the end state? Was that what was meant for me? And no, abso-fucking-lutely not. I refuse to quit and I refuse to give in. And man, some days it hurts. It hurts. Just like you were talking about Job. You know, there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about this man, that you don't think about your friend, that you don't miss him. And that's okay. That is okay. You were a living embodiment to his legacy and what he left behind. And I choose to be and do the same thing for my father.
Yeah, this thing we call life, it's short. It is so short. Why in the world do we want to allow ourselves to get to a point to make it even shorter?
Yeah, Joe's mom told me something that I try to repeat as much as humanly possible. Because she told me that Joe thought he was taking away the pain by killing himself. He didn't take away the pain. He just passed it on to everybody else that loved him. It's not gone. It is not gone. It is just passed on to me, to his other brothers in arms. It is passed on to his sister, to his mother, to his father. Now they're carrying that pain. He didn't take away the pain. He just passed it on.
He really multiplied it in a sense.
Yeah, he did. He multiplied it. And that's something that I'm grateful I got a chance to learn after my suicide attempt. Because today I try to say that as much as humanly possible to anybody that'll listen. Because we are not taking away the pain. You're just passing it on. And I would be very, very, I would be horrified to think that I passed on that pain to my children, or I would have passed on the thought that it would be okay for them to do that someday. And I'm very grateful that she shared that with me when she did, and it's something I'll never forget.
It's a beautiful thought. Very, 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 very true. Very true.
I think I read somewhere suicide affects, on average, 137 people. And I don't know where they got that number. I don't. But you think about friends, you think about social media, you think about brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, friend of a friend. What is it? 5 degrees, 6 degrees of separation.
Yep.
But man, I mean, it touches a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I talk a lot about influence in leadership classes and just life in general. Even when I'm preaching, I'm trying to encourage people to seek their spiritual balance and their foundation in God. And I try to remind everyone that we're influential in all that we live. We can be a positive influence. Bear and I talk about this all the time. We can be a positive influence to the people that we're around, or we can be a negative influence. Either way, we're going to influence people because we're around. The only way you don't influence people is if you move out and get into a mountain area and live in a tent by yourself with your dog. Your dog don't care. But
That sounds appealing sometimes.
it does. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
For about a day for me. But how do you find opportunities to be that positive influence in these lives of these men and women who right now don't even recognize their influence, and how can we help them be better influencers in their own life? How do we do that?
For me, it's the old Marine Corps leadership principles. Mm-hmm. And the first one is know yourself and seek self-improvement. And if I am constantly trying to seek self-improvement, it's not for me. I am not trying to seek self-improvement every single day for me. Mm-hmm. If I'm a leader, I'm trying to seek self-improvement for myself, because at some point, if I don't, I'm only going to be able to take the men and women that I'm leading to a certain point. And then they're going to have to find somebody else, or hope that they can find somebody else.
Right.
Every day in recovery, I have to try to get this much better. I have to get this much better than I was the day before. And sometimes it's playing whack-a-mole, man. Really it is, because, you got resentments pop up, and ego and humility and all this other stuff pops up, and you're just whacking them down. But every day I've got to try to get a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, I am showing other people that it is possible too. It's all about the same as it was for us on active duty. It's leadership by example. Right. And as long as I am willing to lead from the front, I have a chance of helping somebody show them that this recovery world is possible. Mm-hmm. And it's a hell of a lot better than being where I was 8 years ago.
There's no doubt, if you focus on taking a step forward every day, you don't have time to look back. Even if it's a half step, forward is forward. And some days we may take 3 or 4, 5, 6 steps forward. Some days we may barely move an inch. But as long as we're driving forward, then that which is behind us can't catch us again. And I think that's powerful. So, life is good.
You had brought up leadership, man. What type of leadership? Like you're dealing with a bunch of hard cases, hard asses. You're dealing with warriors. I constantly say, all cats came from tigers, all dogs from wolves, all men from warriors. It's in your DNA. Right. We have walls up around us. There's, you don't have to worry about a saber-tooth tiger coming up and, snatching you, or getting trampled on by wildlife or elephants, or getting scalped. Right.
Wouldn't be your problem.
I'm
sorry.
Right.
Did that come out? See, finally a value for not having hair.
That was good.
There you go.
I've got this beautiful beard. So
I'm still thinking the Viking
yeah,
look.
that's the Marine.
I'm still thinking the Viking look, man.
Yeah, I expected better, and you brought it.
I apologize.
So no apology necessary. Your leadership style, bro. I mean, how do you get these men to listen to you?
It's real simple. For me, the same leadership style that I learned, because I was not a born leader like some people are born leaders. I learned from some great men in my life.
Yeah.
And those men taught me technical and tactics. They taught me love. They taught me endurance. They taught me everything that I was taught how to lead. And I took the good and I took the bad, right? Because I can learn just as much from bad leaders as I can from good leaders. And I tell that to my son all the time. Pay attention to the bad leaders because those are the ones you can learn the most from. So I've learned how to be a leader. And my leadership style is by example. I'm never going to do anything that I'm not asking you to do. As a matter of fact, when I'm walking you through this way of life, I am walking myself through it again and again and again and again in order to show them this is how I do it and this is how you're going to do it when you help the next man up.
Right.
And then the other thing is there's a time when the knife hand needs to come out and you need to jump in some people's butts. And, there's a time for that. But you know what? There's also it's okay to show people that you're human, that you can have fun, that you do have ups and downs and how you deal with them. And that's the type of leader I was in the Marine Corps. Like I said, not through any fault of my own. I learned how to lead. But it applies today. And fortunately for me, I am working with the same caliber of men and women today that I worked with for 21 years. We're just different places in life. We got a little bit more hair or a little less hair or we may be a little bit freaking wider around the waist than we were before. And maybe nobody's running 3 miles anymore or doing 25-mile hikes anymore. But the character is still there. So I like I said, I'm very lucky because I thought all I ever wanted to do was be a gunnery sergeant of Marines. Mm-hmm. Today, I'm a gunnery sergeant of warriors every single day.
Right.
And that's the greatest gift in the entire world, I feel like. So that's the way I do it, Bear. I just try to do it, show them that this is how I'm going to walk through life. And if you want to join me. That's the way I do it.
Bro, I still sing your praises. I mean, again, I meant what I said. I can't say enough good things about you and your organization. I recommend so many people to you guys. And I wish we had one of those stickers that was on the back of my truck that FAQ 22.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was perfect.
And the neat part about Fob Razor, I always tell people when they come in for the first time, especially when I'm meeting them at jail or at the rehabs I go to, come on into Fob Razor. And if it's not what you want, if it's not what you like, if it's not your cup of tea, let me know, and I will find you a place that is. This is a one team, one fight mentality. This is not come to me and I'm going to hold on to you. And no, if I'm not working for you, let me help you find somebody that is. The bottom line is fighting it with somebody is always better than fighting it alone. And if you can find happiness and recovery with somebody else, that's a win for all of us.
Yeah, life change is not cookie cutter.
Right.
Life
Absolutely.
change is independent, individual, and unique. And I think it's great that there are multiple opportunities out there to find help.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to tell you what, I think a great place to start is with Jeff.
Absolutely.
Start there. And because you got a great recipe, you got a great program, you got a great heart, and you have a success level. And so I strongly would recommend and encourage people to start with Jeff. And if that's not your flavor, we'll help you find another flavor.
Daggum right,
you know.
That was the other thing, man, about the approach that you take. And I've always admired. If you're not their cup of tea, you'll help them find somewhere else. A lot of nonprofits aren't like it. It's contradictory. It's kind of like military intelligence, right?
Right. Absolutely.
That's definitely not
right. So, man, a lot of these nonprofits, like, man, if I can't help them, I don't want anybody to help them. Or if you take them, it's taking that away from me for a grant or funds or whatever the case may be. I don't care where you get your help from, as long as you get help. And I love that approach. I mean, that's why I was drawn to you and for religious mentor, for spiritual mentor. That's why I was drawn to you in this line of work. I mean, just those approach, that selfless selfless approach that you have when dealing with people in need?
Well, to me, it's very simple. And I'll if I would have wrote a list 9 years ago of all the things that I needed or wanted in order to be happy and not kill myself, and I would have made that list out, wrote it up, folded it, put it up in my sock drawer, and just not touched it. And then a year or two after recovery, after my suicide attempt, wrote down a list of all the things that I wanted and that I had and was happy about, and the reasons why I wanted to stay on this planet and stay in recovery. And I wrote them all down. And I pulled out both lists, and I opened them up, and I compared them. There wouldn't be one thing on either list that would be the same.
Right.
There wouldn't be nothing, because one would have been things like cars, houses, women, money. That's
Stuff.
Stuff.
Right.
Right.
Today, it's not. That is not anywhere on my list of things that I have today. It's freedom from slavery, right? Mm-hmm. That's what makes me happy today. It's the ability to use my story to help somebody else. That makes me happy today. It's the ability to be free of all the horse crap that we deal with on a daily basis that was so important to me then isn't that important to me today. So when I set aside the money and the things and all those, and those don't mean anything to me today, the things I have today say that I am rich. I am rich beyond any of my possible dreams, and it has nothing to do with a bank account. It has nothing to do with a car. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It is 100% because I am happy, I am free, and I am there to help my fellow man. And that is nothing. I would have never even, none of those things would have been on any list 8 years ago, Bear. Not one. And that's the difference today. That's what recovery has given me. I just want everybody that needs recovery to find recovery. And even if you don't need recovery, to find a group or an organization where you can get your stuff out. If you don't have to be an addict or an alcoholic or dealing with trauma or anything like that, right. To find a group of like-minded and like-minded men and women who you can hash stuff out with and work through things with is valuable. It makes the world a better place.